little lesson about artboards. I know some of you don't come to this screen when you're setting something up, but I skipped this in a document settings in a previous lesson, and by default it's 1, but now that I put 2, every time I open up a new document it says 2. So if I want 1, I can put that back to 1. But I need to show you what artboards are. So I set this up for a standard size business card, so it's 3.5 by 2. I have 2 artboards, so I can show you what I'm going to do. It's going to be printed, something I'm sending to a printer, so I'm picking CMYK, and I'll hit create. And what that does is it creates 2 artboards. They're the same size, so that as I'm designing and I add my logo, I might want a smaller version of this logo on the back, just to repeat my logo, kind of work on my branding, and so that they see the logo in their face all the time. If I add my address, because this is the front of the card, and phone number and contact information, and then on the back I might put my socials on the back. And I can set this up. I can use the same font sizes. I can check everything and make everything match. I can be consistent with my colors and everything. So the artboards help that way. Now, other ways to create artboards or other ways to deal with artboards, I'm going to shrink this up a little bit. There's a tool over here. If you don't get that default screen in the beginning, you can come to this tool right here and you can draw your own artboards, and it tells you the dimensions. Down in the right hand corner there's a width and height, and it's in inches because my business cards were in inches, so it's doing inches as well because my units of measurement for the business card was inches. So let's say I'm creating an envelope that I want to use all the time, then I can use my logo again. So I copy and paste, and maybe I need my address again in a smaller font, so that's my return address. So you can add other artboards with this tool and get the dimensions that you want. There's one last way. So if I go to Window, there's always a panel, Artboards. There's a panel for artboards, and I can rearrange them. I can even look at them different. So I can look at them in rows, or I can look at them in columns. So I can rearrange them as I want to. If I don't want the third artboard, I can delete it. I can add a new artboard if I want to. And that just added one beside it. So I might want to rearrange this again in rows so I can see them a little bit better. So there's my bonus one, my artboard 4. I can rename these what I want to rename them. I can also duplicate them. So if I have this card, Artboard 1, and I want to duplicate it, I want another one of these, I can click up here on the menu and duplicate that artboard. So now I have a copy of the artboard. And that's, again, I had to minimize to see it, but I might want to go back and rearrange it so that I can see them all in my face. So that's working with some artboards. We're going to continue with artboards and see how we can use them in animation in the next lesson. But before I do, there's one more phase to this. I want to save, if I save as an Illustrator file, I'm going to be saving this, let's just call this artboard. This is editable now. I can come back and open this file and edit the front, back, all these artboards. But if I want just a JPEG of just this one, I want to see what it looks like as a flattened image. I went to Save As, and I'm going to pick, I'm going to pick another option. I'm sorry, I want to go to Export As. And I want a PNG or a JPEG, and I'm going to keep the name Artboard, which is just fine. But there's this option down at the bottom. I can use all of my artboards, all 4 of them are going to be saved, or I can do a range of them. So I just want 1 and 2, so I can see them as JPEGs. So I'm going to do a range for this one. Sometimes I want all of them to be saved as JPEGs. Sometimes I want a range. And if I hit export, it's exporting them I picked my downloads folder, but now I have two separate images. I have my Illustrator file, which I can edit, and then I have my two JPEGs that I had saved of my front and the back of the, sorry about that, the front and the back of the business card.